up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical right now, the start of 2+ hours nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. I believe lock is 707 tonight. If you want to get all technical, the old Toronto got to add a couple extra minutes for the Canadian national anthem. 707 is first pitch. That's going to fully tilt Kevin Roth later on in the show. One of the last really, really good slates of the season. I suspect we're going to get some nice prize pools out there lurking. Myself, it's Bobby Gomes, former $1 million winner Bobby Gomes. Bobby, welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. Doesn't feel like a Tuesday. It feels like a Monday because there was no show yesterday. Because there's very little baseball. Yep. For me, at least, it feels like a Monday. I got a case of it. How about yourself? How are things in your world? We doing all right?
Everything was going good till about around 4:00 when I got a call from my girlfriend and said my son had been bitten by a bee. So I've been running around, and now I'd made it back. He's good though. He's all good. Yeah.
All right, he survived. That's good. That's good to hear.
He made it, yeah. But it was just like
you only get bit by bees as a kid.
He grabbed it because you just don't know it's a bee, you know?
Oh, okay. Was he wearing yellow? Isn't that kind of a thing too that kind of attracts bees?
I don't know what he's got a sugar tooth, so there was definitely, you know what I mean? There's probably he probably had like a popsicle, and the bee was, I don't know. I have no idea what happened.
You thought it was like a flying starburst?
He got stung, yeah. And so when I went to get him, it was like in the middle of like this crowded place, and he's screaming bloody murder, and I'm just like, oh baby, this is like embarrassing but scary at the same. But you know what I mean? He was good though, so it's all good.
When was the last time you were stung like a bee? I feel like I haven't been stung like a bee since I was a child.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I stepped on a stinger, and I thought I was having an allergic reaction, and I wasn't.
If you get stung by a bee, you got to stay calm. Remove the stinger. Wash this. I'm reading I guess this is too late now, I suppose. You probably Googled or somebody else.
I Googled it.
On the scene.
We were on the scene. Yeah. His finger was like extremely swollen.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Good.
What's up, Keith? Have you ever been stung by bees? Is that a thing out there in Arizona? I don't know if bees lurk there. Is it too dry for bees?
Yeah, I don't know about bees out here in Arizona, but growing up near Chicago, there was definitely bees. I've been stung by one. It's been a very, very long time though. I'm with you. I think when you're an adult, you know not to act like a crazy person when you encounter bees, whereas children tend to freak out a little bit more, and that leads to aggravation of the bees a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think he freaked out. He didn't know what it was, and he's 15 months old. He just grabbed it, and it was probably a bad choice, right? I don't know. What
do you think of the occupational choice? You ever see the beekeeper's outfit and like people are like messing with? That's there's only a certain percentage of people that are willing to do it. I respect that, and like they're willingly getting stung, right? It does. I don't know how much does that outfit protect them. You've seen this before, right?
Friar Tuck from Robin Hood. Have you seen Robin Hood? He was a beekeeper. Friar Tuck.
I just know the reference because I think didn't they during the hazing period? I remember Tim Tebow. I think they gave him a Friar Tuck haircut. Remember hazing
did
period?
They really?
Like
yeah.
That's my only reference point for Friar Tuck. Maybe producer Steve can throw that picture up on the screen for the people. But like one of the hazing periods for rookies when he was I think a Bronco. They gave everybody like funky haircuts and they had fun with Tim Tebow. But I don't know who Friar Tuck is. Like I saw Robin Hood many, many years ago. Maybe I never seen it. It's funny. We were talking movies pre-show and you were lambasting me for never seeing Space Jam.
Yeah, that to me is insane. That to me is insane that you haven't seen Space Jam.
There it is, buddy. There's the Friar. Is that accurate?
That's it. That's it. Yeah, it's good haircut. That's a good haze. I feel like,
Yeah, it depends. You gotta have the right head for it, I suppose. But yeah, that worked out pretty well for Tebow. But I have never seen Space Jam and the Pick Six Show. If you guys listen to the Pick Six Show, myself, Rebar, and Daigle, one of the things we do is and now it's a listener league too. We'll be dropping that listener league live on the show Wednesday. By the way, you get a month free of RG Premium if you happen to finish first in that league. Basically a 1 in 95 chance to get yourself a month free of RotoGrinders Premium. So, join us live tomorrow night. I've already dug into some football as far as this week. I'm looking forward to week 4 already. But, one of the punishments we have is like whoever wins, so finishes highest amongst, those that are on the show, assigns everybody else to watch a movie. And producer Steve chose to give us Space Jam. So I have to watch Space Jam for the very first time, the Michael Jordan version of it. But there you go. Keith, are you a Space Jam guy?
No, I saw it once or twice a long time ago, but it's been 20 years at least since I've seen it.
Yeah, I figure that's kind of where most people are at. All right. Hey, Keith, you got real live baseball today. Your Cubbies, they got a chance still. It's still possible. You can get yourself a chance in the, in the wild card. The Marlins are still battling for a wild card spot. There are things that still matter in the last week of the season. I think one of the most important things in the slate to monitor is the Dodgers. The Dodgers on DK. They are their second game is going to be on the DK slate. It's not on the Fanduel slate, but the game's going pretty fast, so we probably get the lineup. Well, it depends, I suppose. I guess we can get extra innings. We're in the top of the 7th already. Dodgers down 3-1, so people will be tilting their face off if this was like if this is the game on the main slate we're going to be talking about in a second. The Dodgers essentially getting shut out versus Colorado. And we were talking about this on the back end, Keith. Betts, Freeman, Muncy, JD Martinez, 4 of their regulars, 4 of their best hitters, they are in a holding pattern. They really can't improve their stance unless somehow they go 7-0 and the Braves go 0-7, which is unlikely to happen. They're locked into the playoffs. They won the division. They just want to hit that sim button. Everybody stay healthy. I suspect we're going to get something goofy as far as this Dodgers lineup, and it's going to be goofy. Will Smith probably is in it. I think he's the one guy that's probably in it. He's not playing game 1. And also, when are we getting it is the other part of it. That seems like one of the more important things in the DK slate to monitor. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I'm with you. Like, there's no reason for them to run these guys out for 2 games today. So I think we're going to see some stars rested in game 2. That's going to lead to some funky things like you're saying. We probably get a really weird lineup that includes guys like Colton Wong. Will Smith didn't play game 1, so I agree with you. He probably is in there for game 2, but yeah, very interesting. Obviously, we all want to play the Dodgers in Coors Field. I don't know if we're going to be comfortable playing the Colton Wongs and Jason Hayward types in Coors Field, but still a great matchup, great park, obviously. But yeah, huge turning point on the slate when that Dodgers lineup gets released for sure.
You can't bench everybody. Hayward also played in the first game, and he's old, but who knows? We'll see. Somebody probably gets a DH spot, like kind of a half a day off, that kind of thing. Betts, Freeman, Muncy, JD Martinez, Hayward, Hernandez, Outman, Rojas, and Barnes. So I do think that Colton Wong will make an appearance. Will Smith makes an appearance. Chris Taylor probably draws a start. Ahmad Rosario probably draws a start as well. But a couple of the regulars, I imagine, will take a seat. Your thoughts on that, Bobby? Have you gotten that far as thinking about the slate? And, right now, we currently are projecting those guys because who are you supposed to project to play? It's kind of tricky, right? We're kind of in a holding pattern waiting for this game to end, but we are projecting it to be Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, JD, Peralta, and that's probably going to be wrong. It's just really hard to figure out. And when that lineup comes in and, are people just going to be set at 7:00 and that's that? You got a 10-year lineup more so tonight than most other nights. Your thoughts as far as the Dodgers in Coors? 7 total. Currently a 7 total, a monstrous total here. So we can't just ignore it.
Yeah, it was a monstrous total this afternoon too, right? 7.6, I think it was. I'm gonna go with Freeman, Betts. I think they're my 2 favorite, and then just kind of figure it out as we get news. Rojas, I think, is in play. JD Martinez. These are guys that I'm gonna have interest in. But yeah, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to pay attention. It's an NBA MLB slate. Enjoy at the end of September. That's what it is.
Just saying a note here, Marlins Mets will be delayed due to inclement weather Tuesday. We also have Ross weather. I don't know if this is a surprise, but he didn't necessarily have that. I'll drop this in chat for the people, and I'm sure he's going to be updating on Twitter. I'll be coming on in about an hour or so and give you guys another update. But that's something to monitor. But didn't look like Roth was thinking there was much going on there as far as the weather there. That's a report that I'm seeing on Twitter. But yeah, I just dropped the weather report in chat. We have yellow and for the White Sox at home versus Arizona. Arizona is going to be another popular spot we'll talk about soon enough. Everywhere else looks pretty clean. Roth does say there's going to be some rain, but the game should be fine. Winds are blowing in. It's a cold night game. We'll talk about that as far as pitchers, but one of my favorite pitchers is residing in that game on this slate. But Keith, besides chalk Dodgers, pitching feels pretty clear up top. It got even clearer if you happen to have the salary. Kevin Gausman takes on the Yankees without Aaron Judge. That lineup is rough. LeMahieu, Torres, Wells, Stanton, IKF, Cabrera, Peraza, Pereira, and Florial. Like, really? Whoa. This is a rough New York lineup. Toronto is also a team. Are they officially in? They're on the fringe. They're battling as well, right? This game really matters to them, Keith? I think so.
I'm not sure about Toronto. I think they still have a chance.
Yeah. Didn't mean to throw you off with that one, but I'm pulling it up on the fly as well. I'm pretty sure they're still battling and very much in the thick of it. Okay, yeah, 97% chance to make the playoffs. So they're basically coasting in, not officially mathematically locked in, but assuming they don't completely fall apart, they should get in. Speaking of that, by the way, Houston has fallen back. They're only a 75% chance to make the playoffs now because I saw there were 3 of their last, maybe 3 and 7 of their last 10. They've been stumbling a bit. So the Rangers have taken them over in the AL West, but that's pretty interesting and worth monitoring. Of course, the Mariners there as well. They've fallen back too, but they still have a puncher's chance to get in the playoffs. But yeah, Gausman, if you have the salary, how much more do we like Gausman now that Judge is gone? This lineup, a 2.96 team total for the New York Yankees. When was the last time the Yankees had a projected team total under 3? I don't know. I can't imagine when that happened. That's low.
It's a rough looking lineup. Lots of strikeouts in there. I think this depends on what, like, my amount of Gausman exposure depends on what the Dodgers do. If we get a watered down Dodgers lineup that it has a bunch of cheaper guys in there, then I probably load up on Gausman. But if we got the full Dodgers lineup, the premium Dodgers lineup, I would probably make them a priority over Kevin Gausman. That's because I do really like some of the cheaper pitchers on the slate that we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, Gausman in a great spot. The Yankees lineup is definitely a bump to him. And with the Dodgers potentially rolling out a cheaper lineup salary-wise, seems like he's going to be pretty easy to fit in.
By the way, shout out to Casey Douglas in the chat, watching the Dodgers versus Colorado. He said in the broadcast, they said the only players playing both games would likely be Freeman and Outman. So, yeah, man, it's going to be goofy for the Dodgers. Prepare. Yeah, that's we're going to see Freeman and we're going to see Will Smith. We're going to see Outman. And then, Colton Wong is happening. Chris Taylor is happening. I'm trying to think. JD Martinez, I guess, won't play. But, all right, we'll stay tuned for that. But I didn't realize they had enough players where they can sit 7 of 9. Obviously, they extend the benches a little bit, but I didn't realize that they had many bench players available. But, yeah, it's going to be something different for sure. Bobby, where are you at? Or just give me your general overview of this slate. How much more do we like Gausman? There's a really interesting cheap pitcher on the other side of that game. Both those pitchers look really good. The DK salary department is focused on other things, I think. Mike King, whatever. 6K. I don't care how many guys he struck out in this last game or the game before that. 6K seems fine by me. Yeah, King and Gausman are going to really, really pop. And then there's a couple other guys we'll talk about, but I think it's pretty nice up top. It falls off pretty quickly as far as players you can trust. But, yeah, what do you have, Bobby, as far as your general assessment? And feel free to touch on pitching.
Yeah, so in terms of pitching, I'm going to condense on the guys that I play. Definitely playing both Gausman and King in this game. King, 33% K rate on the season. That's fantastic. Like you said, DK, salary makers asleep at the wheel in terms of his pricing. I just think he's way too cheap for this spot. Gausman, I think Keith is a very good call. Like, if you want to, if we know that, and we think that Freeman's going to be and Freeman and Will Smith will probably be the only 2 studs we'll be able to get in from the Dodgers, then I prefer Gausman as my favorite pitcher on the slate, going up against the Yankees with a 2.9 team total and no Judge. Just makes sense to pay up for him.
How do we get different on this slate? If we're going to play Gausman and we're going to play Freeman and we're going to play Smith, have you figured that out just yet? There's certainly plans. There's certainly things to consider. But that's obviously where ownership's going to gravitate. People are going to see that. I'm pulling up ownership stuff right now. As far as DK, we have 42% Gaussman is our current projected number, 38% King. Again, that game's going to be loaded. Bailey Ober getting 30%. That's one I'm going to be kind of pushing back on. I think that's an anti-take on an Ober. I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. And my favorite guy, similar price, is Braxton Garrett against the gutless Mets, getting 12%. Assuming that game goes, and if they're delaying it early, I'm guessing they're going to get whatever needs to get out of the way. And the weather does not look like spectacular for hitting, and it's already a cavernous ballpark. And the Mets versus lefties, it's just two guys, right? It's Lindor, the polar bear, and the rest is nonsense. I feel pretty good about Braxton Garrett. But what do you have, Bobby? How do we get away? How do we get a little bit different on this slate if we're going to be leaning into Gaussman and King and looking at, whatever's left of the Dodgers? What else are we doing?
Yeah,
we getting goofy? For
me, I like Garrett. And we have him at 12%. Like getting over on Garrett, I think makes a good sense. I think Gaussman's the best pitcher on the slate. I'm going to have more King. Because the King just gives you the salary savings. So if you want to play basically Atlanta or you want to play Texas, like you have the ability to, because King frees up that salary. Yeah, that's pretty much my thought process. I would, if I had it like in a vacuum, I'm taking Gaussman over King, but in terms of ownership, or exposure, I'm going to have more King.
I don't know when Miles Michaelis joined the slate, but he joined the slate. Thompson was throwing baseballs or projected to throw baseballs, throw them out, scratch them off. It's Michaelis versus Milwaukee now. Keith, King pitch count is interesting, right? Converted reliever. It's worked its way up, though, right? 50 to 61 to 69 to 79 to 87 to 101 against these very Blue Jays. He struck out 13. Baker's dozen last time out. We obviously don't need that at the 6K price. And how apprehensive are you with he's going to face Toronto again? Is that bad? 5 days later, I don't know how to quantify that, but he faced them the third time in the game and he blew him away all three times. So all of a sudden the 19th at bat, now I know what this guy's going to throw. I'm going to hit it this time. And we have 88 pitches we're projecting, and the Yankees obviously going nowhere. There's no reason to fully unleash him. But even if he throws 85 pitches, I think he's fine. And I guess he can throw 100 just for funsies. But pitch count it's not really a concern, especially if you consider the price, right? That's all built in, and then some.
Yeah, it's the price. This is a no-brainer. He has the upside, as much more upside, I would argue, than anyone on the slate not named Kevin Gaussman. Michael King would be my second raw ceiling on the entire slate. Talked about the 30% strikeout rate on the season. Since he moved into the rotation, 37% strikeout rate in the rotation. Obviously, some of that had to do with his monster game against Toronto the last time out. I do think there is something to facing a team in back-to-back starts, but it simply does not matter at the 6K price tag. Maybe a little bit more of a conversation on Fanduel where he's priced up a little bit, but I still think he absolutely has 10 strikeout upside in this matchup. The sports books are asleep as well on this. I bet Michael King over 5.5 strikeouts last night. Put 2 units on it last night. Woke up this morning expecting it to be moved to 6.5 everywhere. Threw another 2 units on it this morning because the juice had actually come down a little bit. It did finally move to 6.5. There's a little plus money out there. I still like him over 6.5 strikeouts in this spot. So they're just not buying into him being a fully stretched out starter. But if you read everything around the Yankees and just beat reporters and things like that, this is an audition for him to be in the starting rotation next year. I'm fully expecting 85 to 95 pitches in this spot. If he's going extremely well like he was last time, 100 is an outside chance. I think they would probably not like to do that 2 games in a row, but I would not be surprised to see him throw 95 pitches again in this spot. I'm not concerned about the leash at all. Really, the concern is facing them back-to-back times, but he doesn't need to be perfect at 6K.
Are you making your usual 20 lineups tonight, Keith?
Yep.
Is this lock button territory possibly?
Definitely. Yep. I will be about the field on Gaussman, lock button for Michael King. If you get 6 strikeouts for 6K, that's more than enough. I think he has potential to go for double digits again in this spot.
And just look at the players around him at his price point. It's laughable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Urania's 5K, Davies is 5.3, Bradford 5'4". Feltner is 5'8". He's 6K. Michael is more expensive. Blackburn, I guess, maybe. If you want to make that argument, you can roster them both and have some fun as far as your hitters. But, Hauser at 6'8". Like, it's none of these guys are in his league. And you mentioned 37% strikeouts since jumping the starting rotation. Many times, that's a small sample stuff, obviously, but many times, like, the K rate's going to go down when you go from reliever to starter because you're throwing more pitches. You can't really max velocity every single pitch. But 37%, that's like Spencer Strider territory.
Yeah.
It does seem like, you're just supposed to hit the lock button.
It's funny you said this is an audition for him with a 37% K rate since moving into the rotation. Like, the Yankees have better options, just waiting around.
Let's see. Who are they going to? They're going to sign somebody in the offseason, right? The Rodon thing, maybe he bounces back, but that signing's looking pretty poor. I think it's over for what's his name, Luis. What's the guy's name? Yeah, it feels like it's over for him. He kind of bounced back a little bit, and then he hurt his arm again. But man, it's not great shakes for the Yankees going forward.
So this is similar to the Cole Reagan. Like, this is a pitcher who has 4 above average, really quality offerings. Like, just looking at his arsenal, he throws a sinker the majority of the time at 33.5%. His sweeper about 30%, four-seam fastball 22%, and a changeup he mixes in 14.5% of the time. Every one of those pitches has a put-away percentage above 24%. So he has 4 pitches that he can record strikeouts with. He's a legitimate starter. He has legitimate stuff.
And he was like a legit setup man too. This is not like my forte, but I remember him being like an excellent 8th inning guy, right? I feel like he's probably closed up some games as well.
Yeah, he's been one of their better relievers the last couple of years. They haven't had the needs in the rotation. They've signed some guys and tried out some other prospects and things like that. But yeah, now that they've dealt with so many injuries and a lot of guys failing, he's moved into the rotation. It seems like he's really secured his spot for next year for sure.
All right, so we like Gausman. We really, really like this. This price is just so goofy for Mike King. Bobby, lock button for you possibly? I don't know. What's the strategy? You're running a bunch of lineups?
I'm only playing one tonight because of what happened prior to the show. So yeah, basically, I would probably in my one lineup I'm gonna have Michael King. I can assure you.
So lock button.
Yeah.
Everybody you play is a lock button situation for sure.
Yeah.
Technically. Any merit to playing Toronto against King? How many lineups you got to make, Keith, and say, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do a little leverage play. I'm gonna burn all the chalk donkeys that are gonna play King. What lineup you got to get to say, screw it, give me some Blue Jays? Just what if, because baseball's goofy and weird. You never know.
I mean, if I had 150, I might have 2 Blue Jay stacks, but it'd be over 100 before I made a Blue Jay stack. I think. I believe in the talent of Michael King. It's not like this is new. Like you said, he's had huge success out of the bullpen, and just since moving to the starting rotation, he's really seemed to take to it. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd put him as the second most talented pitcher on this slate. Just straight up, throw out the salaries, everything. He's the second most talented pitcher on the slate.
But Keith, going forward, when you see these lines, slide into the DMs and let me know. I didn't see that as far as King last night. I know I should have been on top. It's on me.
It was up on Scores and Odds.
Well, do you think I am I'm getting pinged every single time when you think it's post on Scores and Odds? Just slide into my DMs. Feel free. Feel free to let me know. I'm up. I'm up late. Both of us are both up pretty late. Yep. But it's on me. It's on me, obviously. Or drop it in the Discord. I know I've seen you drop some stuff in the Discord before. I wish I would have got on top of that one, but that seems like the line was a bit too goofy there. You said Gausman. Who else we working in the conversation, Keith? That you also talk about Ober, because they're locked in, right? Minnesota's locked in. They just generally don't push their pitchers. It's like a rule, like a team philosophy. Like some guys, no third time around as a general rule. I know he's facing Oakland, but Ober doesn't get pushed. The last time he's gone beyond 5 innings is 723. You give him 5 innings and that's that. He can give you 5 economical innings, be fine. He's not breaking the slate. Probably gets a W and good for him, but it's not like he's cheap. Bailey Ober's 9-1. So I'm not really on it. I'm not here saying you can't play him, but I think he's a little overpriced, and I don't think he kills me.
Yep, I'm completely with you there. I don't see the ceiling in this spot. I know it's a matchup that we're typically targeting pitcher ceilings in, but Ober's a league average strikeout guy. He doesn't go deep into the game like you mentioned, and there's no reason for Minnesota to push him. So I am off of Bailey Ober. There's some guys below his price that I really like and want to take some shots on. You mentioned Garrett. I like Garrett, but a little concerned about Garrett's ceiling as well. I don't think I'm playing any Bailey Ober whatsoever, which is just wild to say against Oakland. But I just don't feel like the ceiling is there at 9,100. The guy I'm looking to go largely overweight on outside of King is Christian Javier. He gets a tough matchup against Seattle. Seattle is still fighting for a playoff spot as well, but they strike out a ton. One of the highest strikeout rates in baseball. We've seen Christian Javier come back to life a little bit here. Second half of the season as well. His last outing against Baltimore put up the 11 strikeouts. So then a very down season for Christian Javier, but at 8K and a guy with double-digit strikeout potential in a plus strikeout matchup, I am very much interested in Christian Javier today.
All right, Bobby, jump in here. Javier and Ober, your thoughts on both. Houston still battling for a playoff spot. I was saying before, like they've kind of stumbled a bit. 75% chance of making the playoffs. Seattle kind of sort of has to win out, basically. Every game matters to them, so they're fully motivated as well. But Javier versus Ober, are you hitting the lock button on either of these two, or are you hitting the X button on them? Because you got to do one or the other with your one lineup.
Yeah, I'm playing Garrett, but in terms of Ober and Javier, I think I'd prefer Javier. I don't 9,100 Ober versus Oakland. Yeah, the price is justified. I don't know. I just feel like for me, it's easier just to go to Christian Javier. I don't really believe. I feel like if you're playing tournaments like smaller field stuff, Ober is definitely going to be highly owned. I just think it's a way to get contrarian and playing Javier. Javier hasn't had the greatest season, obviously, but it's a good spot versus Seattle.
I'm not sure if either of you are playing FanDuel, but somebody in chat, let's see, who's that? Tequila Mike is playing Javier. You're just kind of referencing Javier and FanDuel is 7-7. Let's see, ownership-wise, you're probably going to get to Gausman, most popular, 34% on FanDuel. Ober at 22. King at 7. I'm not saying he won't get the 6 innings, but I'm not guaranteed. King's got to be efficient. He certainly can, and he's done it before. You want that quality start if you can get it on FanDuel. 6% for Javier on FanDuel. Kirby at 5. Braxton Garrett at 4. What's your thoughts here? Are you okay, Keith, unleashing Javier and FanDuel, especially if you're getting 6%? At 7-7, you got to get a couple extra bats. I assume you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't generally multi-enter on FanDuel. I just prefer the multi-pitcher sites. I feel like that's where my edge is at. But if I was multi-entering over there, I would have huge overweight stances on both King and Javier.
Mr. Gerg says, why are the Mets and Marlins delayed due to rain when it's not raining? Yeah, I don't know. That's something we're going to keep an eye on. Obviously, Roth is coming in about 45 minutes or so. I wanted to see if he updated his article or maybe he tweeted something, because I'm sure it's got to be, being Roth and anything weather related, he probably instantly gets 20 messages on Twitter and stuff, right? But I would imagine he's getting hammered with that. What's going on here? So he'll clarify it, obviously, at some point, if not in his article, if not on Twitter. He will do it on the show in about 45 minutes or so. I'm trying to find his Twitter handle now and see if he's on top of it. But if not now, he'll get to it, I'm sure, soon enough. Maybe they're just being super, super cautious in New York. Not really sure. Keith, anything else that we should Kirby? Again, Seattle playing for their lives, but he's not cheap and he's facing a tough Houston team. I saw Detmers getting some ownership early, but I guess that's not the case anymore. Let's see. I'm on FanDuel right now. FanDuel is getting 2 or 3%. Has that changed? Is Detmer getting some? Detmer's getting 5 or 6%. I don't really want to pick on Texas, and I just don't really trust Detmers. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, the strikeouts have come back a little bit for Detmers, but just a really brutal matchup. Now that Texas has their lineup healthy again, Josh Jung back in there, Adolis Garcia back in there, I have no interest in picking on Texas. There are a couple of guys that I have quite a bit of interest in, though. Seth Lugo, I think, is extremely interesting. He's back to having a full leash, has been over 90 pitches, upper 90s in a lot of starts. Above average strikeout rate on the season in a great pitcher's park out there in San Francisco. And San Francisco is a team that I love to try to find some pitcher strikeouts with as well. They strike out a ton. So 8,400 for Seth Lugo. I am in on that. And then I think Bobby Miller is an interesting conversation. We talked about this, the Dodgers rolling out a watered down lineup. What if Colorado rolls out a watered down lineup? Their best lineup isn't fantastic. If they roll out a watered down lineup, I have interest in Bobby Miller. I will say use some caution there because of pitch count. I don't think they will push him very deep. But I am interested. Like, Bobby Miller leans on his fastball a ton, so I'm not too worried about him seeing a huge drop off in strikeouts going into Coors Field. The altitude obviously affects a lot of breaking pitches, but Bobby Miller has one of the best fastballs in all of baseball. I'm interested in rostering that a little bit.
That was my follow-up question, is like, this game doesn't matter to LA. They just want to be healthy. How much do they possibly push him? They've already lost several arms in their rotation. They can't afford, they're down to Kershaw, Pepio, Lance Lynn, and Bobby Miller. That's what they're going to the playoffs with. Like, that doesn't feel spectacular. You're right. And if they lost one more of those somehow, I think this thing in worst case scenario, there's just no upside. That is my caution. What do we have, like 80 pitches or so? I'm guessing, as far as those projected pitches thrown.
81 in the bat.
89 on RG, the plate IQ. I would take the under in 89 for the record. But, is there enough pitches available is kind of the question. I don't know. Bobby, you got a thought on that as far as Bobby Miller?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. If Colorado rolls out a weak watered-down lineup, their lineup's pretty watered down anyways. I like the Lugo call versus San Francisco. Like, we look for San Francisco for strikeouts. I think Lugo and Braxton Miller. I think I'd prefer Lugo to Javier. How do you feel about that, Keith?
I would say Lugo's a little bit safer, but I will have a little bit more Javier. I think he has a higher ceiling. I don't envision Lugo going out there and striking out 10, where we've seen Javier do that multiple times.
Saw Alex in chat. Shout out to Alex mentioning Eflin has the best xERA on the slate for what it's worth, and are we just not acknowledging that, and we don't care? He's been really good. Like, a career resurgence for Zach Eflin this season. 26.6% as far as the Ks. A good ISO 143, a good WOBA 278, keeping the ball on the ground. How much interest do we have in Eflin? You're gonna have the salary if you want it, right, Keith? Like, if you're gonna be spending down the king, you can certainly spend up on one pitcher if you want to. Is he somebody that pops up in your pool of 20 lineups? He's
not. It's similar to the Bailey Ober conversation. Like you said, 26% strikeout rate is pretty strong. Definitely a nice uptick for him from where he's been for his career, but he's in Fenway Park is the biggest thing for me. If this game were in Tampa, I would certainly have interest, but going into Fenway, and I know it's cold on the East Coast. Roth is on the unders out there on the East Coast, bad hitting weather, but it's still a great hitter's park compared to like Lugo in San Francisco or Javier against a high strikeout lineup. I'm much more interested in taking shots there. Eflin could certainly get it done. If you have conviction on Eflin, I wouldn't try to talk you off of it. But you look at the strikeouts in the Boston lineup, the top four guys all under 20%. Only Trevor Story, Bobby Dahlbeck, and Reese McGuire have like what I would consider high strikeout rates. Obviously, Story's been striking out a ton. Dahlbeck's striking out a ton. So you like to see those guys in there. But it's just the upside for the price. I feel like I can go to the mid-range and find just as much upside there.
By the way, Roth did tweet about the New York situation 7 minutes ago. I just dropped it in chat as well. Odd late start in New York. It's dry, and we've only seen a few sprinkles over the past few hours. And he adds, hopefully the field is in good enough shape, ? Not really sure what the holdup would be. So, yeah, maybe it's just a field condition thing. But the weather seems fine, but I guess it rained there during the day. Don't know. But I assume that's the scenario. What are you going to do there? Like that's not on Roth. It's like it's somebody like working the field grounds and all that kind of stuff. They can figure out the game is good to go, but I'm going to assume it's playing until otherwise noted and hear what Roth has to say when he jumps out about 40 minutes or so. Let's see. What else is going on in the chat? Mr. Richard saying, I'm not playing Kirby. Several people are not on Ober as well. Max says Detmers are bust. Okay. Bobby, you have a Detmers take?
No Detmers for me. In terms of like that range in general, I'd probably, my stuff's freezing up for some reason. Yeah, for me, I'm not interested in Detmers. I think in terms of like in that, I don't know. I just like going down. Like I don't mind going to Blackburn. I don't mind Tanner Houck. I don't mind who else is basically in that range. I think's fine. No, that's pretty much it. Like I'm not paying for Detmers on this slate. Where's Det? 1 sec. Sorry.
He's 7-3, and all roads lead to King at 6K. It's like, well, King is cheaper already better. And
even if you're looking for two cheap guys, I Blackburn is far superior to Detmers just because of the matchup for me.
And what about Mikolas first? In like, I don't mind Mikolas at all either over Detmers.
I mean, I'm not playing Mikolas. That's a no-go for me. But what do you think here? Is he in your 20, Keith? Miles Mikolas?
No Mikolas for me. Just no strikeout upside. He's just going to pitch to contact, keep the ball on the ground. Where Blackburn has an elite strikeout matchup and at least an average strikeout rate compared to Mikolas, who's well below average. So it's Blackburn all day for me over Mikolas.
Keith, it's just interesting that your Cubbies, Justin Steele, who's had a spectacular season, he was in the running for the Cy Young earlier, not too long ago. I think he was one of the favorites maybe a month ago or so. He's kind of fallen apart his last two starts. Maybe he's gassed out. I don't know, kind of sputtering to the finish line. And he's facing Atlanta. And it's just interesting that, like, and I get it, but nobody's playing Justin Steele, who's had one of the best seasons amongst all the pitchers throwing baseballs today. And I'm guessing you aren't either, or are you? Who wants to pick on Atlanta?
Yeah, no, you can't pick on Atlanta. He got beat up against the Pirates his last time out, beat up by Arizona the time before that. So really feels like he's running out of gas here at a career high innings pitch for sure. Sure, he could get back on track today, but I'm not trying to find that a struggling pitcher going against Atlanta. No thanks on that.
Let's see. Anything else in the chat that's worth acknowledging? Yeah, they're talking about Blackburn. This Minnesota lineup, I assume it's strikeout heavy, and it's also without Correa and Buxton, and there's a third guy, right? Who's a really good hitter that's been not in their lineup of late. Royce Lewis, who's was one of the best hitters in baseball the last month and a half, basically since he came back from his injury. Man, a lot of teams it feels like are just kind of sputtering into the playoffs and just kind of wounded. It's it's a long season, it turns out. Hopefully those guys bounce back. I think Buxton is rehabbing, if I'm not mistaken. But Minnesota, we're looking at Julian, Polanco, Solano, Kepler, Kirilov, Farmer, Wallner, Vasquez, and Taylor. That firing up the plate IQ here, Keith, for Blackburn. You're talking about Blackburn. The K percent for that starting lineup is 26.7%. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of strikeouts. Blackburn is an okay strikeout pitcher, right? Not great, 22.6%, but he will get a bit of a boost, and it's kind of baked in. I guess if you're running out some Atlanta, you're running out some Freddie Freeman and Will Smith, you're talking about going double cheap with King and Blackburn.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I do very often. I generally like to get as much upside as I can in my lineup. So building with somebody like Gaussman at the top and then going down to the 6K range, I am completely fine with. But I'm viewing Michael King as a guy that should be priced at 9,000 or above. So I think I have plenty of upside there. And then I can take shots on Blackburn as my SP2 and just spend up on all of the bats. Blackburn, 22.5% strikeout rate, right around league average. Tons of strikeouts in this Minnesota lineup. Only two guys below 22%, Kepler and Vasquez. Blackburn strikes out more lefties than he does righties. It's very close. He has almost completely neutral splits. But he's got 4 or 5 lefties in that lineup. Good spot for Blackburn.
By the way, Dodgers going to the 9th inning. They're down 4-1. Rojas, Barnes, and Betts. So they probably lose this game. They're losing pretty quickly, and also are probably going to get Dodgers lineup before 7 o'clock. I thought this game potentially go long. We get some fireworks, like a 12-8 kind of game, but that's not happening. So, I thought there was a slight edge to the chances of maybe we don't get these lineups until around 7 o'clock, and I do not think that is going to be the case now. All right. You want to give me the summary, Bobby, how you're attacking pitchers, and I'll throw it over to Keith as well. We'll talk some stacks. Whatever's on chat's mind, feel free to throw out your questions. Whatever's whatever you got, throw them out there. We want to, this show is yours for the next half hour until we lead up to crunch time. Crunch time is Kirkdiese. I assume he's going to be bringing his Juggalo bombs, assuming we get enough likes there. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, hit all the buttons. You still have Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, and I mentioned Roth. Roth will be on. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more clarity as far as what's going on in New York. But all right, Bobby, give me the summary as far as pitchers tonight.
Yeah, so I'm building a bunch of teams to mainly get to one. Michael King's a lock button, and then it's a decision between. Gausman is my favorite pitcher on the slate, but if I'm not pitching Gausman, I think I'm trying to decide between Braxton Garrett and Seth Lugo. Those will be my two that I'm like the two that I'm really trying to decide for. If I was playing longer, if I was playing more teams, I would open up my player pool. Blackburn, Mikolas, Gausman would definitely be in my pool, and Ober probably just get in there. Ober is going to be the optimal starting pitcher for, I feel like, cash games if people don't go to King.
Yeah, that's my big stand is not playing Ober. And I did run some optimals before, like you said. And let's see, pitching wise, I put a cap on it. It's a combination of King, Gausman, and Ober. Like, two of those three are landing in most of the quote unquote optimal DK lineups, but I am not playing Ober. I believe Keith said the same thing essentially. What do you want to add as far as pitchers?
Yeah, pretty much avoiding that 9-10K range from Eflin down to Ober. I'm just completely Xing out all those guys, all four of them. Michael King is a lock button. I think he's at least 3,000 underpriced on DraftKings. Gausman for the upside will definitely be a big part of the pool. Guys I'm sprinkling in the mid-range, the most of Christian Javier, a small amount of Seth Lugo, Bobby Miller, and Braxton Garrett. And then down in the cheap range, a decent amount of Paul Blackburn as well.
Question in chat from Chris. Is Gausman a must in cash both sites? I think so. I think DK for sure. And Fanduel probably. Fanduel, you don't have the Dodger game. So it's like you're not missing out on, I can't spend up on Freddie Freeman. I can't spend up on Will Smith. They're just not available. I'm running some lineups now, but I assume you want to get Corbin Carroll, probably the best Fanduel cash play when it comes to spend ups. Let's see. Pretty sure Gausman's going to land in. It's interesting. 35% Gausman, 35% Ober. I just don't agree with that. But it sounds like you agree, Keith. If you're playing cash on FanDuel, you would take Gausman.
Yeah, it would definitely be Gausman for me.
Yeah, and by the way, Gausman lineup does have Carroll and Christian Walker in it, which I think are two really, really good cash pieces, good tournament pieces as well, obviously. Hey, let's talk about our stacks. Myself, Kirkdiese, Dave Potts, and Squirrel Patrol. We did our favorite stacks on the slate. Now, it's worth noting this is going to be DK, so DK is going to include the Coors game. We have LA number one, which is a tricky thing because, LA won, but what if it's going to be a terrible lineup? Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be bad, but it's still going to be okay because it's, in Coors, and some of those guys are still pretty good. Texas second, Arizona third, Milwaukee fourth, Atlanta fifth, then Seattle, then Chicago, the Cubs. Dave Potts gave a little shout out to the Cubbies there. It's pretty tight though, right? 11 games, 22 offenses, Keith. We have Dodgers, Texas, Arizona, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Seattle, Cubs. What is too high? What is too low? What do you want to kick off? What do you want to add on? How do you feel about that board consensus-wise when it comes to the stacks tonight?
Yeah, Dodgers are definitely the clear number one option in a tier of their own for me. Even if they roll out a little bit of a watered-down lineup, they're still going to be the top offense just because they're in Coors Field, facing a pitcher who's not going to go very deep in the game and has a ton of issues with walks. So you're going to see a lot of a very bad Colorado bullpen as well, presumably. Dodgers clear number one. I'd have Arizona second. Jose Urena is just somebody we've been picking on for a very long time. Low strikeouts, high walks. Arizona, a pretty talented lineup, definitely right up there at the top. I think I'd have Texas third. Detmers has been a little bit better here recently, but Texas is fully healthy now. They've been one of the best offenses of the season when they've been healthy, and they're back to that now. So love some Texas bats. Milwaukee, I think I would drop a little bit. when they were facing the lefty Thompson, I had a little bit more interest. Michaelis is not somebody that scares me by any means, but he does do a better job of keeping the ball on the ground. He's a control guy, so just a little bit harder to stack against Michaelis, I think, than Thompson. So I dropped Milwaukee out of there. I think Atlanta is interesting. We have the money for it because of this Michael King stuff, and I'm perfectly comfortable playing Paul Blackburn as well. So if you want to spend up for Atlanta, Justin Steele has not looked quite right. The Cubs bullpen is extremely decimated right now. Like their 4 best relievers are on the injured list. This Cubs bullpen is atrocious. So Atlanta is somebody I like a good amount, even though it's a really tough matchup on paper against Justin Steele, who's been incredible this year. I like the other side with the Cubs as well, especially the lefties. Elder has huge splits. So the lefties in there, Bellinger's overpriced. People are not going to play him at all. Tauchman leading off is cheap. Ian Happ is a nice piece in the mid range. That's 3 pieces that I absolutely love there. The lefties in particular.
Just pulling up that bullpen there for the Cubbies and the Fly. I was looking
pretty.
at it. Yeah, I didn't realize how bad it's been. Looking at the active roster stuff. I guess the season-long numbers are not terrible unless I'm – oh, you know what? I do not have bullpen selected, which I think is important. I have everything. But, okay,
yeah,
as relievers.
Alzolay is on the IL. Merriweather is on the IL. And Michael Fulmer is on the IL. Those are their 3 best relievers this season. So it's decimated beyond what the stats say.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning, we'll talk about Arizona in a second. They're facing Jose Urena, the White Sox, one of the worst bullpens in all of baseball, and they're locked in for 9. Probably going to get, maybe 4 innings or so of bullpen against the White Sox. Bobby, what do you have as far as stacks? What do you want to add? You're making one lineup. You're talking about King and Garrett possibly as your second pitcher. How much are we leaning into the Dodgers? How much are we leaning into the Diamondbacks? Are you going to be a little bit goofy, go off the off the board a little bit? How do you feel about the stacks again for those that just joined? Dodgers number 1, Texas number 2 according to our consensus rankings, Arizona, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Seattle, and the Cubs.
So for me, Texas would be 1, just because of the uncertainty with the Dodgers. Then I'd probably make the Dodgers 2. Atlanta 3. I like to call Milwaukee. Like I think I like Michaelis, not Mikolas. I don't know why I call. I never say his name right, but I feel like I like him more in St. Louis, like versus Milwaukee. Like it just, I don't know. I wouldn't play Milwaukee. I think Keith made a good argument not to. Seattle, and then who else can I throw in there? Arizona, I would say. You have Arizona. I think the majority of Arizona too. Yeah.
So the thing with Michaelis is like I think he was Mikolas for a season, if I'm not mistaken.
I've heard it both ways, definitely.
But I think now he's back to Michaelis. Just call him by his nickname. He was.
Is that Chosen? Is that like Robbie Anderson and Chosen Anderson?
It's funny. I was talking to my buddy last night. It was a Dolphins fan. It blew his mind. I'm like, that's Robbie Anderson, right? He's like, what? Like, well, mine was blown. It's funny you also mentioned the Dolphins because if you score 4 touchdowns in one game, you get a tweet from Adam Schefter that lets the people know that your game is going to be changed going forward. And Bobby, not to call you out, but I've heard you've had issues with this one too. So it's no longer Devin Achane. It's going from Devin Achane to Achane.
I'm an Achane guy. I have 47% exposure in best ball, Dean.
So you're a best ball influencer as of this moment.
As of this week, I'm a best ball influencer. I may have the worst teams in best ball currently, but as of this week, because of my 47% of Achane, I'm a best ball influencer.
But that's the great thing. Like, who cares about your teams? You can just tweet out like a little snippet, like zoom in 47% Achane.
I did that.
Well, there you go. You're influencing correctly. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I look forward to you, renouncing your crown next week because something else goofy is going to happen, and it's going to turn the other way. All of a sudden, Jeff Wilson's going to take him.
I think Achane might be legit for what. Like I've always thought he was good. Like Texas A&M, I thought he was very good. Yeah, so they I think they got a stud, and what they did with their offense and like just getting speed everywhere is such a
so fast.
Every team in the league.
We have time. Sure, why not?
We have time. We have time.
I grew up in South Florida. And I don't know what reason why, but maybe I was just a natural contrarian, but I was not a Dolphin fan. I was a Panther fan, Marlins fan. I was a Marlins fan. But for whatever reason, it did not take. The Dolphins just were not my team, and I actively almost kind of rooted against them, and I don't know why. I was a Houston Oilers fan. I enjoyed watching their offense. If you're old enough, you remember they were a football team in Houston. Warren Moon, the run and shoot, right? Curtis Duncan, Ernest Givens. It was kind of fun. Ray Childress. So now I'm to the point that I don't want to be like a bandwagon guy. I'm not gonna go out and buy the hats and the shirt and the paraphernalia and all that. But I love McDaniel. He's my favorite coach in the league. I love their offense.
Best coach in the league.
Coach. He's the best. He's the best. He's so funny, and just not just in scheming, but just like likability. He's just the best.
I would like to trade my Bears fandom for a Dolphins bag and win card, please.
Yeah.
But like the Dolphins have this offense that's the most fun offense to watch in the league. The speed is insane. It's not just Hill, but Waddle and Achane and Mostert. They just fly. And they're playing a completely different game, and they're facing Denver. And like the game is passed by Russ Wilson. The game is passed by Sean Payton. Sean Payton couldn't resist. He had a cushy job just sitting in a booth and like complaining about other coaches. That's easy to do. But he's got $1 billion, but he needed one more yacht, and he had to come back. And like, you know what? It's over for him. Whatever. This is 3 games. They're probably doing this in Denver. But like the game's passed him by. It's passed by Russ. It's gonna be rough. And what, 5 years of Sean Payton Denver committed to? It's gonna be a rough next 4 or 5 years for Denver. Who knows how long Russ sticks around? But yeah. The point is that
you're a Dolphins fan now.
I don't want to be that guy, but like
you're being that guy. I'm that guy. Kirkwood says I'm that guy.
They're fun. They're just fun. Like, yeah. And I like fun, right? So I, independent of all my bets and whatever, I am rooting for Miami. And this town will trade every single Heat championship and every single Marlins championship for one Dolphin championship. It's a Dolphin town, but before anything else. And it's the one that's been around the longest, so it's no surprise. Yeah. But they would absolutely love a championship down here. But all right, let's get back on. We had time for a little rant there. And you want to rant about the Bears? It was a rough all around, Keith. I don't know how it could get worse.
Is that the worst? Is that the worst week a team has ever had in the history of the NFL? I mean,
I don't like betting big favorites, but I did. I bet KC just because of how terrible it was. A setup for Chicago to get completely walloped. It's not good, man. And going forward,
the quarterback proving he's probably not going to figure it out. Just cannot get rid of the football, taking way too many sacks. The defensive coordinator in that situation. Won't comment any further on that. What else happened? The break-in at Soldier Field or Hallis Hall, just getting absolutely trounced by the Chiefs, which everyone knew was coming.
The coordinator's house being raided by the FBI.
Yeah. Keith didn't want to speak anymore on that.
There's some rumors floating out.
Oh, is that what he said? That's what I missed.
It's not a good situation. Taylor Swift is dunking on you, in the booth. Did you guys hear this? Like, it's amazing. Like, the biggest singer in the world. I don't know if you guys, it's not on the interweb just yet. Bobby, do you follow, Taylor Swift? Are you aware of her?
I'm a Swiftie, Dean. I'm a Swiftie.
Are you excited about her? Is this fake? Is it nonsense? Is this just all PR nonsense? Just for clicks?
I think it seems pretty real. The best part about this, you really have to be appreciative of Taylor Swift in this situation because there's no more of Miss Mahomes and Jackson running around. It's all T Swift. It's going to be all T Swift. I was seeing memes. They're trying to take her out already in terms of Twitter.
Miss Mahomes is like begrudges like the Taylor Swift all of a sudden.
Oh, she is. You can just tell they're upset. They're definitely upset because she's stealing the spotlight. T Swift.
It's like that meme where like the guy's looking at the other girl and the other gir's got the face like, hey, why aren't you looking? Is that what we're looking at? That's kind of.
There was another one with who was the singer, the ice skater who she
Nancy Kerrigan.
Nancy Kerrigan, yeah, with the one who hit her with I don't even know this. That was
Jeff Gillooly was the guy. And Eckert. I don't know why I know these names. Why are they still in my brain? I know.
I don't know. They're not in mine, but yeah, Nancy
Jeff
Kerrigan
Gillooly was the mastermind. I think that was actually your husband, if I'm not mistaken. Tanya Harding.
Harding. Yep.
That's and I guess the Swifties are learning football. Hopefully they join the DFS streets. That'd be spectacular. I'm assuming that's some soft money. I don't know. I don't want to be presumptuous or join the RotoGrinders. Get yourself some premium. Have at it. But have you been to the concert? Has that been an option? Have you tried to get tickets?
I got a bracelet, Dean, the friendship bracelet, T Swift. I'm a fan.
I don't know what that means.
That's how Kelsey got her. He gave her a bracelet. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was the move. That's all you got to do.
I think so. Yep. That's all you got to do.
All right, Keith, do you want to fess up to being a Swiftie as well?
This is so far over my head. I have no idea what's going on here.
You've heard of Taylor Swift. You're aware of her existence?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about what do we talk about now? We talked about stacks. What does the chat want to talk about? Do they just want to talk about Taylor Swift going forward for the next 15 minutes?
I got to pull up the chat because I don't have it up right now. I got to see what people are saying.
Richie Small says, I don't think I've ever heard a Swift song ever. You have. You just don't know it. You
have heard it. She's one of the best lyricists of our generation. She's up there with like Biggie Smalls. I'm telling you.
First of all, it's two different generations. Biggie Smalls was like 35 years ago, man.
I know. Yeah. That is a good point. But yeah, she's one of the best lyricists of all time. I'm telling you.
Well, don't believe me, but it's great T-bone steak. No, I peripherally I like Taylor Swift too. Like it's not something I've kind of like fully delved into, but I think I've heard of her. I liked, and she collabs with my favorite band, The National. Of course, she's a big fan of The National as well. So I love The National. She likes The National, and I think she said that was her favorite band. So that's something we have in common, myself and Taylor Swift. But she's got some stuff out there with the two of them working together. But yeah, I don't know if I'm a full Swiftie. I feel like I'd be kind of I'm as much of a Dolphin fan as I am a Taylor Swift fan. How about that? I'm rooting for her. She seems delightful. She seems like a nice lady. All right. Kirkwood, by the way, in chat, he'll be on in 15 minutes. He says Bieber greater than Swift.
Now, he's right about that. He is right about that.
What?
Yeah.
Are you at the age where you like there was a window?
How are you not a fan of the Biebs? How are you not a fan?
I never was. I never was on.
You're missing out, dude.
Yeah.
I know good music. I guess we know where you're lacking. You don't have a great taste in music. I'll say that. No Swift,
I mean, that may be true, but the clinching reason, like the closing argument, is not because I don't like Justin Bieber. That is not the closing argument, sir.
He might be the greatest performer of our generation, Justin Bieber.
Okay, how many different it's not all one generation. Your whole life is not just all one generation. Bieber and Swift and Biggie are three different. Well, I guess Bieber and Swift kind of, sort of, somewhat. But wait, so you think Justin Bieber is one of the greatest performers?
I don't know about performers, but like, so I don't know, musician, whatever you call him. Yeah, he's up there with Michael Jackson, dude.
You had the fever. You still have it. You still have the Bieber.
How can you hate on Bieber? There's no. I could never do that. Yeah,
I don't know.
He's good. Everyone. Yeah, we didn't like him when we were a kid. His music's fantastic. I don't know.
I think you can make an argument for other people before Bieber, but okay.
Bieber's Dean. Come on, Bieber's legit.
Hold on, producer Steve. We got to have a poll for the people. Like Bieber, yay or nay? Is Bieber the voice of our generation?
He's the songbird of our generation, Justin Bieber.
The songbird is Justin Bieber, the songbird of our generation. I'll ask Keith this question. I assume he's going to yield on it, but yeah, is Justin Bieber the songbird of our generation? Like, come on, we can't be serious, right?
I hope this is a bit from Bobby. It has to be.
This is a bit, right, Bobby?
Kirkwood will get on and justify everything I just said.
Hold on, wait. Kirkwood is a juggalo, and he's a fan of just the Venn diagram of people that are part of Juggalo Nation and are fans of Justin. So maybe he's not a part of Juggalo Nation. Then he's a fraudulent for that. Both things cannot be true. He cannot be a Justin Bieber fan and B, a part of Juggalo Nation. Like that's rights for kicking you out, I imagine. I don't know. I don't know the official rules of being a juggalo. I've not been to the gathering, but I think somewhere along the way, Kirkwood is misleading us. Yeah, like Timberlake's got to be better than Bieber. Like that's not even a conversation.
No way. I will say this: I'm more of a Nick Carter guy than a Timberlake guy, but Timberlake had the higher ceiling. I'll say that.
We need a Dodgers lineup to bail us out of this conversation.
We don't have yeah.
We still got 15 more minutes to kill, Keith. So we got plenty of time. Get comfortable. Yeah, I'm trying to see if we have any new lineups. We had the Mariners. We got that about 15, 20 minutes ago. Crawford Rodriguez, Big Dumper, Colin Raleigh, Hernandez, Kelnick, Suarez, Ford, France, and Rojas. Kirkwood says Bieber has banger after banger. Okay. Okay. I guess we'll discuss this when well, let's see what the people have to say. The people are going to vote in chat. Well, it just says, by the way, producer Steve, his poll is Justin Bieber, ? Yes or no. Like that's the poll question. Doesn't say anything about him being a songbird of the generation. By the way, no is the heavy favorite. No surprise. Currently at 77%. I hope you're going to be okay with that, Bobby. You were contrarian by saying,
yeah, I don't mind going against the crowd, Dean. I'm going to vote yes just to get my vote in.
There you go.
I'm disqualified.
Andrew's got a question. Can we play Gausman and King in the same lineup? You can, like a lot of other people are doing that too. But you probably shouldn't do that with like Chalk Stack A with Chalk Stack B. Thoughts on that, Keith, as far as pairing Gausman and King? And maybe he's asking that because of the win stuff. But like, who cares, right? I don't need 2 wins. I'll take them. I'll like them, but whatever.
No, I think that's an ownership question. And I definitely wouldn't play Gausman, King, Dodgers. I think that is far too chalky. You want to find some differentiation there somewhere. If you're leaving yourself with only 3 spots for a mini stack or something like that, I'm not sure that's quite enough. It is something that I'll be cognizant of. Anytime I'm playing Gausman and King, I'll want to go a little bit contrarian with the bats.
By the way, a good point in our chat here from Fernando Rodney. Where is the Marlins lineup? Do they know something we don't know? Are they not planning on playing baseball? Because they've yet to release one. The only thing I could say like that might be holding up the Marlins lineup is that Luis Ariz, he's got an ankle. So maybe he's like questionable. They're trying to figure it out. But an hour and 7 minutes before start. This isn't the NBA. We'll get the NBA in about a month or so. Typically, we have lineups for games that start at 7 o'clock. Why don't we have a Marlins lineup here, Kirkwood? I'm reading him in chat right at the same time. Anybody have a theory, Keith? Why are there no Marlins out just yet?
I think your Ariz hypothesis might be correct. That might be the reason. Might see him end up on the IL or something, maybe.
T from LOC is standing for Debbie Gibson, which you just showed yourself being an old, which is fine. And I what is this person's name?
I'm getting annihilated in chat.
Appropriately so.
I usually chat usually likes me. They're not too happy with me today.
It's not personal. It's just that you're standing for somebody that likes.
I gotta stand up. I gotta plant my flag.
Okay, so who is Young Pinch? Does anybody know who Young Pinch is? That's YUNG. He's getting mentioned in chat, and I had to Google, but it's a person. I get a singer. I don't know. I don't know much about Young Pinch, but they're saying that we should be checking out Young Pinch apparently. But yeah, people are now inspired.
Remember, people used to sell mixtapes.
You ever get roped in? Like, here, you have it for free, and like then all of a sudden now you got to give like a $10 tip. It's like, well, what just happened here? I don't even listen to tapes anymore. How do I know you're any good? You're just a guy in the street.
I used to always get them handed to me walking to the train from high school. People like, listen to my mixtape. I'm like,
did you?
Yeah.
Did you tip? Like you just got to keep your hands in your pockets and just keep going.
No, but then they do ask you for they would ask you for money afterwards. Like, yeah,
you're
selling your
CD.
It's
it's a business plan.
Yeah.
Ashman says best prop bet in the chat's opinion. Well, do we have anything as far as stale lines? I know you were talking about King earlier, Keith. Anything you like in the prop streets today? That's applicable as far as the lines that are out there right now.
Let me see where that Michael King line moved to, and if it's still plus money, even 6.5, I'm on board with. I think I personally laddered him up to 10, so I definitely think 6.5 over 6.5 is within his range of outcomes. Plus 124 on FanDuel, Michael King over 6.5. I'm on board with that.
Don Yeezy throwing out Lisa Loeb, which does anybody not expect to say or read today? That's Stay, of course, are one big hits. I don't know who Little Matic is, but that's Kirkwood's talk about Little Matic. Are you aware of Little Matic, Bobby?
No, I'm not.
All right. He says, grab some trees and listen to the whole album. So there you go. I I don't think he means literally. You know, I think he's speaking in code there. I feel like he might be Kirkwood. I don't know. The kids are saying these days. But, yeah, about 10 minutes or so, we get Kevin Roth. Kevin Roth will come in, and hopefully we'll get something as far as what's going on in New York. No Marlins lineup just yet. They announced the delay really early, which is strange. Like, typically they don't announce it that early, but that's been announced, and I guess it rained there earlier today, and maybe there were some issues with the field, but allegedly it's no longer raining there. You get I gotta hear Dave Potts' take on the Beebs. I bet you Potts likes Swift.
I bet you Potts likes the Beebs 100%.
He's very diplomatic and he's nice. Doesn't say a bad word about anybody, especially musically, because he's a musician. So he probably there's a certain kinship, right? He's probably not going to say anything mean about Bieber, but he's not listening to Bieber. Like, he's not listening to that. But he'll listen to some Swift.
I can't believe I took you for a guy who might have Bieber fever, Dean. Apparently the chat did too. I'm seeing a lot of Bieber fever comments.
They thought I had the fever?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I've not been I have to see somebody, I suppose, if that's the case. But is Oasis not the best British band since the Beatles?
Oasis is fantastic. I would say so.
They're not the best British. Muse is better. There's a better British band for you. Richie Small says any Blue Jay lefty mini stacks for double leverage. Oh, double leverage here, Keith, for the Blue Jay lefties versus King. Like, you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. King does have wide splits. So if I'm attacking King, that's the way I would do it. Brandon Belt is back in that lineup, which is worth noting. Chasing a home run with Brandon Belt would be something I would be interested in. But the other guys are named Varsho, Kiermaier, and Biggio, and I'm not real interested in those guys. But a home run from Belt, I think, is a viable thing to chase.
We haven't done any gimmicks. I don't know if you have any Fleischers for the people, or Bobby, you just give a couple homers out. I don't think there's no nonsense a part of that. But obviously we get Kirkwood with his Juggalo bombs. I guess TJ's not hanging out with his Spidey bombs. I gotta fire off some of the dongs for sure. I typically like to put those in the chat when I fully have my thoughts formed as far as my favorite three. Maybe I can come up with one and tease one before we yield to crunch time. But Keith, do you have a homer for the people that you like?
I loved Jorge Soler today, but there's some rumors that game might not happen now. Even though the weather was bad there, Soler has so much power. I was still going to play a fair amount of him, but obviously keep an eye on the weather. Sounds like that game might not be happening. Give me Cody Bellinger as a guy nobody's going to play at that price. I'll see if I can come up with one other one.
Wait, did you say the game might not be happening? What have you seen since as far as New York? Is that what you're talking about as far as that game possibly getting ruled out?
Yeah, somebody in chat saying that Roth was tweeting that field conditions might be too bad and they're not going to play it.
I was going to say that
40 minutes ago. Is there a new tweet or no? There is. I'm sorry, Bobby. I'm going to cut you off, but yeah, here's the tweet. Mets field is apparently a mess from rain over the past couple of days. Being dry tonight may not save this game. Note that at this point, when it's no longer forecasting weather, I'm not much help. Yeah. Like, you can't put this on Roth. Roth's telling you it's not raining, but that's not, we're asking. Like, he's the default guy we're going to ask, but like, this is not his specialty, right? As far as how good the grounds crew is there.
New
York.
I don't think that there's any, like, once the field is gone, there's no coming back from it tonight. It's not like they can wait a couple hours for it to dry and then it's good. I don't think. Maybe he has some insight into that, Roth, that is. But I feel like once it's kind of reached that point that it's not going to be good until tomorrow.
By the way, Izzy saying best British band ever is Led Zeppelin, not debate. Yeah, I guess Zeppelin came after the Beatles, so they probably would qualify Zeppelin better than Muse. I forgot Radiohead too. My bad. Radiohead's got to be in the conversation as well. But I guess Zeppelin is probably the answer. That's sort of the chalk as far as best British band since Coldplay. They're fine. They're fine. But they're not. Come on, they're not the best British band since the Beatles. Let's not get out of hand. Pink Floyd, I guess, after the Beatles too. Sure, if you want to throw them in the conversation. Let's see. See what else is going on in there in the chat. It's all sorts of, we're talking about hip hop albums. We're talking about British bands. There's no baseball talk, but yeah, this is interesting because it feels like there's a really good chance this New York game is just not going to play now. Scott wants to know Fanduel best low price plays. All right, we actually can pull this up on our Lineup HQ. Lineup HQ, we have the salary savers. Who did salary saving? Oh, it's Bobby Gomes. Bobby, your salary savers for today. You want to give it to the people? Or should I give them to the people as far as some of your favorite salary savers?
You can give some to the people, Dean. I have a home run that it's going to be chalky, but Josh Jung is going to be my home run guy tonight. Does that work for you?
That was the guy that I had picked out for my second one as well. So same page there. Love that call.
Did anybody say Abaciel yet? Abaciel Garcia? Has he been mentioned?
Nope.
No.
I will take Abaciel Garcia.
Adolis, you mean?
I
always do that. It's not going to be Abaciel. That's definitely contrarian. Adolis Garcia. Why do I get those two confused? Abaciel is just fun to say. All right, so some of your cheap salary savers on FanDuel, you have Moreno at 2.5. You have Grossman at 2.8. Is that Texas lineup officially out? We're expecting him to hit second or third, or I think third is our current expectation for him. Yeah, it is a later game, but yeah, we're projecting him to hit third. I think Seager, by the way, is a spectacular tournament play, left on left versus Detmers. Absolutely leaning the net in the tournaments. Anybody else? I mentioned Moreno. Tommy Pham at 3.2. I don't know if that's kind of on the fringe of salary. Thomas is another one of my favorite salary plays on DK, especially. FanDuel works as well. Thomas cracked the lineup for Arizona, right? Yes, 2.7 on FanDuel against Jose Urena, and he's really cheap on DK as well. Queen, I forgot Queen. It's another spectacular British band. My bad. There's so many. They've done a great job, the Brits, when it comes to bringing bands over. And I see, Bobby, your takes do not stop. In chat, you're talking about the Spice Girls. Of course, if you're going to stand for the Biebs, you're going to stand with the Spice Girls as well. The voices of our generation, you're also going to give us that pitch because
I was a big Baby Spice fan as a kid.
That was your go-to. If you're
very easy on the eyes. Yeah.
Amongst your more so than Ginger or Scary or Sporty.
I'm a big blonde guy, Dino. I like blondes.
All right. Well, I think she was the only blonde, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. And by the way, Alan's got your back in chat. I saw Alan saying Bieber and Swift are two of the greatest musicians of our time, and I cannot stand for the slander. I don't know
more people should have this take.
Well, check the poll because the poll is not a great. Yourself and Alan happen to be contrarians.
I bet you Alan's in his 30s. Mid-30s.
I think I would say so. He's mid to late 30s.
I'm going to ask me my thoughts on Hanson. It was good. Wasn't Bieber.
Zach, Isaac, and Taylor, the Hanson brothers. What's your second favorite Hanson song?
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, Dean. That's the only one anyone knows.
Alan, 38. You nailed it. You just won both Showcase Showdowns for sure. Andrew says, would you play both Seager and Semien in a stack or leave one out? Well, I mean, if you can get them both, get them both. Like, why? It's a salary thing if nothing else, Keith. But if you're stacking up Texas, ideally you get Seager and Semien, right?
Yep, I think there's the cheap pitching makes it pretty easy to do today. I'm totally fine with that.
Hoosier saying Banners says Bobby is probably an Island Boy guy. Can you do it, Bobby? Come on, give me a sample of the Island Boy.
Fade the Island Boy.
You can't give me like a 3-second snippet, a little tease. Come on.
I'm not a fan of the Island Boys. No,
I don't know much of their work except for that one song. But
I feel like Roth has us covered on this one.
Yeah,
Roth might be an Island Boys fan.
Roth can at least do the impression.
Yeah, I don't know if Roth is lurking. Well, I mean, there's a line everybody knows. Yeah, even Keith knows it. It sounds like.
Yeah,
I know what it. Kirkwood.
Yeah. Kirkwood's got it.
You could have just guessed it if you've never heard it before. God, you ever go on that Cameo site? You ever get lost on Cameo? It is wild. It's like got like fringe celebrities on there, and it's the craziest thing because it's like how is this person charging $400? Like nobody knows who this person is. And this other person's like relatively famous, charging like $50. The pricing is wild on Cameo, but I happen to don't ask me how or why, but I did see the Island Boys on Cameo, and I watched a couple because you can watch some of the other ones and say, "Oh, I want to get this for myself," because I just saw how great that turned out. I did not get an Island Boys Cameo, but just Roth is famous enough. He's big enough. Roth's probably on Cameo for all we know. Has anybody any request, Roth? Have you been on Cameo?
Yeah, I do 750, $750, and I've gotten a few hits. You know, here and there. I'll get a few big fans reaching out. No, Dean, have you seen the twins from Breaking Bad? I don't know if you were talking about this. Have you seen them on Cameo?
No, I'm aware of them. I didn't know they're on Cameo though.
So one of them is charging $500, and the other twin is charging $50. And
What?
And they're the same person. And it turns out, maybe, I like to think, it's this maneuver so that more people do it, and they all sign up with the cheap guy thinking they've got a deal, and then they just split the cash.
That's a great idea. You're thinking next level, but that is pretty brilliant. I wasn't aware of that. But if you shop around, like, you know what? Like on a slow day, what I'm going to do sometime this week is the last week of baseball. You know, it's the dog days. I'm going to present like 5 people from Cameo, and we're going to guess how much they're charging. And I might pick ones that are like that one's shockingly high. Like I would never guess. So we'll play this
I love it.
later on in the week. Also, Roth, I guess you've recused yourself. It's not on you to figure out what's going on in New York because it's not a precipitation thing, but our eyes are trying to figure out what's going on with New York and the Marlins. Marlins have not released a lineup yet, for what it's worth, which is the game starts theoretically in 50 minutes. Well, at least it would. We'll talk about that in a second. But most important, Bobby has revealed himself. He's got the fever. He's got the Justin Bieber fever. Bobby is a Justin Bieber fan, and he's screaming it to the heavens. Are you on board with that take? He said he was the songbird or the voice of our generation. I don't want to misquote him. Bobby, you want to clarify that statement?
No, that's the statement. That's it right there. I know Dave Potts is a musician. Maybe he has a similar take. I know Kirkwood definitely has a similar take. Kirky.
Yeah,
back
Bieber.
Me up here.
If you don't recognize greatness, then I don't know what to tell you. Bieber has banger after banger, and I bet you if we broke some of those songs down and to let maybe did like an acoustic version on YouTube, have Dave do them, that it would be insane the amount of people.
So let me jump in and say this. I was listening to just like a Spotify mix of the kind of like rootsy Americana stuff that I listen to. This song came on by a guy that I love, Josiah and the Bonnevilles is his name. And I thought, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in the history of my life ever. It was a Justin Bieber song of him covering acoustic. The guy is absolutely legit. And if you don't like him, you're trying not to like him to be cool. He's awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
And that's a mic drop right there.
That's from a musician. He knows. What about Taylor
Dave
Swift?
Never said a bad word about anybody. He's super, super kind, but that did sound genuine, and I believe what he said. But
it is real. Like, and he writes. Both he and Taylor Swift are very legitimate songwriters. That they don't even have to perform their own songs for them to be great. They're both absolutely legit.
Yeah, there was no Swift slander on my end, but I think most of us liked Swift. It was just the Bieber thing that kind of stood out. And my follow-up question is for Kirkwood. The Juggalos, the gather. What happens when they find out you have the fever? Because the Venn diagram of being a Justin Bieber fan and a part of Juggalo Nation is like non-existent. Are they accepting of this? Are you going to get ousted now?
It's the exact opposite. The gathering of the Juggalos, it's a gathering of everybody, and they're the most accepting people on the planet. You're just saying that because you want to, because you're scared of the face paint or the.
See, look,
it's
Michael
completely opposite.
Michael says Juggalos accept everyone. Michael knows what's up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe. So you're saying
like Kirkdiese accepts everyone. I want everybody to know that. It's a big part of who I am.
You're saying the Juggalo Nation, they're sitting around a fire, like singing "Baby, Baby, Baby," like that. That's going down. That's happening.
I'm not. I can tell you this. I wouldn't bet that hasn't happened.
All right. Dean,
but you can't disprove a negative.
We have people in chat saying, "Can we get to some baseball content?" So I think we got to move it along here.
All right.
Anything else for the boys here? You got anything, Keith or Bobby, before we step aside and get out of here?
That's it. Good luck, guys.
All right. Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time. You got Roth. You got Kirkwood. You have Dave Potts. Take it away, Roth.
Excellent stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. This is Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel, as I'm sure you already know. This is the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got my guy, Cheeseisgood, Dave Potts in the house. What up, Cheese?
Not too much. Nice, solid 10/11 game slate with a good bunch of everything. I like it.
We got a random day off yesterday. I was so confused.
So they do this every year. They leave a day open at the end of the year for games that were missed during the year. They just didn't need any makeup.
Okay.
Every year, the last Monday of the regular season is basically left open for the most part for things that need to be made up.
Okay, very nice. I was looking forward to enjoying it, and then my entire family got the stomach bug, and we were just all puking all night. So it wasn't very fun, as that turns out. Cheese.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, it's not great. We got Kirkwood in the house as well. He is everybody's favorite, most lovable juggalo. What up, Kirk?
I like that. Most lovable juggalo. How you doing? Yeah. I'm doing
good,
well.
Man. I'm good.
I'm doing well. I had remember last week we did the show and someone had to point out I had a tough week in the NFL, which I had already said. Someone
They did. They tried to double rub it in.
Where are they today? Because I crushed on Sunday. So
suck it. Where? Yeah. I probably shouldn't yell "suck it" at our viewers.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you should.
I take it back. This show is sponsored by Fanduel, and they do not endorse me yelling "suck it" at our viewers. Hey, we did get a few weather notes here. The first of which is the more legitimate. There's actually weather to talk about, and that's in Chicago. I've lowered this from I think there's going to be a delay or late start, and it will probably play, to it's definitely going to play, and they might even avoid the delay thing. So my question is, Cheese, do we want pitchers there?
No, that's good hitting on both sides. No pitching.
Very good. Well, then we got no issues there. Play hitters. That game is going to play. It's not a problem. The other thing to note is that all of those Northeast games, I love the pitching weather in them. Like literally every game. There's New York, Baltimore, Boston. Is Philly at home too?
Not on the slate.
Oh, not on the slate. Okay. The pitching weather in all of those games, it's cold, it's a little damp, and winds are blowing in. That is as good a pitching weather as you could ask for in all those spots. So, geez, I'm hoping there's a decent pitcher in one of those.
Yeah, most of them really.
Nice.
They're at least decent pitching, and yeah, it works out pretty well to have the weather helping some of these guys.
Okay, very good. Gator Nation says, if you're not watching the football show with Kirk, Bobby, and Noto, you're doing it wrong.
I totally second that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I need to start watching because you apparently crushed last week, Kirkwood. Why do I keep trying to do the craziest thing? Why do every week I'm like, no one will do this? There's a reason no one's.
And then the chalk just smashes. So all I did was I just loaded up. I thought I was dead because I didn't play Tyreek Hill, so I thought I was dead immediately. But I had the running back who went, who went off for a bazillion points, and then I just loaded up on the Chargers Minnesota game, and that's all you needed.
I need to remember, you don't have to get different at every position. You can
play the game just heavier than most people play it is a way to also get different, to have more higher stat, more, and Squirrel talks about that too.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's so smart. All right. And then quick weather update. That New York game is not on the slate, correct?
It is.
The Mets game?
The Mets game, and it's important because we got a pitcher in there.
The good news is I do have inside information. A guy who runs security for the Mets is always in my DMs. He's a super nice guy, and he always lets me know 15 minutes ahead of time what's going down. So that could legitimately be a huge help. It's only rained 0.2 of an inch of rain all day. So the fact that the field is still a mess is pretty worrisome because it's not like they just had a downpour and it'll drain. It's rained 0.2 of an inch of rain all day, which isn't a whole lot. And the field is a mess from days ago, I assume. So that worries me because they've had all day basically to try to get it's dry. And to be clear, if you missed it, there's no rain in New York. It is fully dry, but it's rained in the past, and now the field is a mess. I don't know. I'm not a fieldologist. I'm a meteorologist, so I really can't help more than hopefully my inside source hooks me up with some info. That's all I've got.
I wonder, I forgot, there is a correct term for that, like someone who deals with like turf and grass and all that. They had that major at my college. I just can't remember it.
It's turfology, I'm pretty sure.
There actually is, and people like go and manage golf
For like golf courses. Yeah, golf
Yeah.
courses. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends actually did that. Fuck you, what's called. So that's all I've got in the weather department. I will keep you updated, but you know as much as I do, essentially. It's just, what are they gonna? Can they fix the field up? I don't know. That's not really a meteorology question. So let's dive into it. Cheese, do you want to say anything on that in the meantime? Like what you think about?
I mean, I'm horrified right now because that's my second highest owned pitcher, is Braxton Garrett.
Yeah.
And the game starts at 10 after, so we don't have there are pivots from him that are fine, but we have to decide, 5 minutes after lock. So
I mean, I think you have to lower your exposure, right? If he's your second most owned guy. Like, I'm not saying fade him.
Yeah.
I've got the remedy. I've got the remedy for you, Cheese.
Let's hear it.
We move to Tanner Houck.
Yeah.
No.
That's not what I'm doing. I would be moving to Seth Lugo.
That is the question. Brian in chat says, what's the pivot off of Garrett if this game doesn't play? And
well, there's lots. That's the thing. There's plenty. It's not actually hard to do. Well, you know what? Let's just go into pitcher and then we'll talk about it as we do that.
Okay, that's fair. Let's dive right into it. Let's just start there. Cheese, you want to walk us through it?
Yeah. So on Fanduel, Kevin Gausman at 11-1 is pretty reachable, and he's the top guy by a lot. I would play Kevin Gausman. Then there's this whole big clump of guys, of which Braxton Garrett is one of them. I think on FanDuel, I would swap to Bailey Ober. Like, Ober's probably only getting 5 innings, but whatever. 5 innings against Oakland is fine. Michael King is a big discussion on DraftKings. I still love him on FanDuel as well. He's actually my highest on FanDuel pitcher, but he's not like a lock button like he is on DK. Seth Lugo is right there as well. Christian Javier. They're all like fine, but I like Braxton Garrett better than all those guys, which is what's bugging me. And you are allowed to go cheaper if you need to on FanDuel. You can play Tanner Houck, Kirk mentioned. You can play Reed Detmers. You can play Luke Casey. I don't need that much salary on FanDuel, so I don't have anything below Michael King, but you're allowed to. And then on the DK side, Michael King at $6,000 is $4,000 underpriced. I didn't actually lock button him just because anything can happen, but I have about 90% Michael King. Gausman's also the SP1 there. Zach Eflin is more viable on DK. I think he's fine, but kind of overpriced in comparison. And then here's where we get this big clump where I'm playing Braxton Garrett. Maybe. My first pivot would be Lugo. My second would be Christian Javier, and they're just right below him. But if you want to spend more money on bats, it's essentially the same drop to Tanner Houck, Luke Casey, Paul Blackburn. I'm playing Texas bats instead of Reed Detmers, but Detmers is in that conversation as well. That's a lot of names, but
yeah.
Essentially, if we don't get anything further, like if we don't get like a start time for that Mets-Marlins game, I'm going to move about half my Garrett exposure and split it up between mostly Lugo and Javier.
Mm-hmm.
If I have $500 left, I'll go up to Ober as well.
Okay, that's great. I feel like that's a good actionable plan. We need a start time before lock. Otherwise, we should pivot at least some of that ownership. And could you go through the names again? Your pivot real quick.
Yeah. So on FanDuel, I would go down to Ober or Michael King or Seth Lugo. Ober, King, Lugo.
Mm-hmm.
And then on DK, it would be Lugo, Javier.
Gotcha. All right. That's fair. Let's kick it over to Kirkwood, hear about what your thoughts are at pitcher. Jose says, what about Eflin? But I'll let you kind of walk through what you're doing.
Yeah, if you have the money, it's Gausman, as Dave said. It's also it's just ridiculous, the price. You have to take advantage of the price of Michael King in this spot. The strikeout upside has just been ridiculous since he's become a starter. That he's been stretched out now. So and he just dominated this same lineup, and he's only 6K. So I think you have to do that. What I'm doing, I love Tanner Houck tonight. I like the weather here in Boston. I like for pitching. I like the fact that he's very inconsistent, but he has a nasty slider, and that's about it. But when his command is on, he can put up a good performance. And this Tampa lineup is like just so watered down. They're just missing a lot of guys. So he's cheap, and he's away. Is hint is how I'm gonna end up doing a Brave stack tonight, which is, and they're gonna be unowned. They're gonna be so low owned, the Braves tonight, which is crazy to me. So I'm gonna roll that way for sure. But if you compare Gausman with King, I do like that. And then everything else is just for GPP stuff. But I do like Javier, like Dave said. I do like Paul Blackburn against the Twins potentially. I loved Braxton Garrett. I wrote him up today. I definitely tagged him. I did write him up. And that is kind of sad that this game is having some issues with the field.
Okay. Well, my source, my security guard at is it Citi Field? Is that what it's called? Citi Field? He hit me up. He slid into DMs. He says, it looks like they are going to try to play, but it might be a while. So that's not exactly a ringing endorsement on either way. But it does mean that they're not like throwing in the towel right now. So he thinks they're going to try to give it a go. Obviously, they're doing what they can to try to get things in shape. Hang on. Did we just get an announcement here? Someone says 7:45 Mets game. Let's see if that's official. Going to the Mets page. Haven't seen anything. Mike Mahoney in the chat has a time. If you could tell us where you found that so we could confirm it, that would be wonderful, because it's kind of important right now. In the meantime, let's talk about the bats. Hopefully by the time we talk stacks, we'll have that official. Kirkwood, what are the stacks that we're aiming for here? It says on betting sites, it says 7:45. I don't know
So
what that means.
On DraftKings, we have to like the Dodgers in Coors. Take it as a good thing that they didn't do so well in the first game and that the bats will come alive the second game. At least that's the way I like to look at it. Arizona is probably the next chalkiest, best stack. I like Texas a lot in this spot today. And I love the Braves because nobody's going to be playing them, and they match up so well. Justin Steele is a very good pitcher, and the Cubs are fighting for playoffs, but like the Braves crush any and all left-handed pitching. They crush all pitching in general. Like, if I'm going to be able to get this stack low owned on a night when I don't really love any high-end pitchers, I like Gausman, but I'm not married to him. I think I can get away with some lower cost pitching with King and Houck, and get a full stack of my Braves in there. And I just like the upside. Other than that, maybe Milwaukee, maybe Chicago is in play. The Cubs, that is, and maybe even possibly the White Sox on the other side of the Diamondbacks.
Okay, great. Cheese?
So most of what Kirk said, like obviously the Dodgers on DraftKings. Yes, it is weird how low owned the Braves are going to be. My favorite team is Texas. I think they and the Braves are the teams that'll be under owned for who they are, mostly because of the salary, and both facing, decent pitchers that people don't love picking on. Arizona, I think, is probably the chalk. And I like the Brewers next as well.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's go around the horn here. By the way, did I mention this show sponsored by FanDuel? Shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Crunch Time, presented by FanDuel. Get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5 for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Always good stuff. Shout out to our fantastic sponsor. Let's go a little around the horn. Travis says, is there weather in Milwaukee? They got a roof. So if there is weather, I ain't worried about it.
They probably got weather outside.
They likely do, but I ain't scared. Cheese, what are we doing at catcher?
Catcher's pretty good. I'm even using catchers on FanDuel. Definitely Will Smith on DraftKings if you have money. My favorite play is Cal Raleigh, but I also love Mitch Garver, William Contreras in that mid-tier, and then Gabriel Moreno would be the cheap, like cash game viable punt.
Okay, Kirkwood?
Yeah, I like all the same ones, exactly the same. I also like Logan O'Hop. What's the official pronunciation?
I think we got to go O'Hoppy. I mean, I don't know if
we
that's
just
correct,
like
but I
saying
think we got to
O'Hoppy.
do it.
It's more fun to say
Okay.
O'Hoppy, but you know.
But I do like Mitch Garver a lot. Other than that, and there's no real, like, the punt is Gabriel Moreno at 2,900 and the best spot of the night for them. There's no real like super cheapy other than that. And I like Sean Murphy, who's going to be criminally low owned, who's been struggling a little bit, but he did hit a homer the other day and is batting down in the lineup, so he won't be played a ton. For the Braves, who aren't going to be played a ton in general.
Okay, great. Tequila Mike says, any weather updates in Chicago? I've got that game as just a chance for a delay. So assuming you want bats, and from what I hear, that's all we mostly want. I think that game's going to be fine. So just play it. Maybe there's a delay. They might even avoid that. Kirkwood, what are we doing at first?
First, well, we got Freddie Freeman in the lineup in Coors, so that's a play. Christian Walker is going to be really popular, but he's also a high upside play in a great spot. Urania is just not a very good major league pitcher. He has had like 2 out of 3 starts since coming back up have been decent for him, but this guy is just waiting to fall apart and get smashed. So it's probably tonight in the good park there in Chicago. Andrew Vaughn, you could play on the other side of that game, cheap home run upside for 3,500. Other than that, I think Garrett Cooper's interesting at 3,100. Again, with the platoon, Cody Bellinger is a great play tonight, and I'll leave the rest for Dave.
Very good. Cheese, your thoughts?
For the salary, Christian Walker is definitely my favorite play and probably everyone's favorite play for the salary. I do love jamming in some Freeman and some Bellinger on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I don't quite as much love spending up like to Bellinger. Like Olson's going to be like 1% owned, which is crazy because he has like 400 home runs. But I still don't love the salary. I also really like Paul Goldschmidt as a one-off. And same kind of cheap guys that Kirk mentioned, like Vaughn is pretty interesting. Kirilloff, like the whole Twins lineup, like it's not a good night for hitting there, but it's still a bunch of guys who are cheap and hit the ball hard and in the air. So I don't mind it.
Very good. We got Dean's official dogs coming in here. Number 1, Adolis Garcia. I do believe that is the Cuban Missile. I think.
Yes.
I think. Yep. There you go.
Official. It's
2,
official.
Colton Wong, and 3,
Wow.
Ha-Sung Kim. We got Wong, Kim, and Garcia. Those are your official Dean's dogs. Also got a question from Joseph. Says, hey, is Minnesota fine to play? There are way too many people that aren't checking the MLB weather page. Minnesota's fine to play. All you got to do is go to rotogrinders.com/weather/MLB. And I literally walk you through every single game, every single day of my life. It's all I do. So all you need to do is bookmark that page and go to it, or follow me on Twitter at KevinRothWx. And I literally tweet about it all day. Cheese, second base.
All right. It's very good up top. You got Semien and Marte are the 2 that I want to prioritize. But again, with this Braves thing, like it will be weird how low owned Albies is. So I would put him up there with Semien and Marte. You can say the same thing for Altuve. Pretty much no one's playing him either. So like spending up is very interesting. I think spending up not on Marte is even more interesting, just because that's where most of the ownership will go. The Twins guys are in play. If you need like complete punts, there are things that exist, like Jose Furman, or for the Cardinals, he's 2,100. It's not that he's good; it's that he's 2,100. I would rather spend up at second, but feel free to goof around a little if you need to.
Okay, Kirkwood, your thoughts at second?
Yeah, everything Dave said. Love Semien. I love Albies. I love Ketel Marte. Those are the top guys for me. And then for cheaper, Brendan Rodgers and Coors got the cleanup spot at 3,600. So it seems like a pretty good price for the potential upside there with him. Then no one else really than other one Dave said. I think Polanco is interesting. You could play Edward Julian. But yeah, the main, I like those main three guys up top, or just go to Brendan Rodgers at 3,600.
Okay, how about third?
Third. Okay. I'm going to love like Austin Riley, just smashes left-handed pitching, going to be lower owned. I can afford him. I'm going to play him. I do like Josh Jung. I like everybody in that Texas game. Max Muncy is playing in this. So he's playing in Coors. Yeah, he's probably the top overall option. 5,500. Jonathan Aranda for Tampa Bay is leading off at 2,700. That's all I can really say about him, but he's leading off for 2,700. So there are punts. I did like Jake Berger. I think we're going with this game's going to play in for Miami here. So if that's the case, then I love a couple of these power bats. We'll get to Soler later, but he's probably my favorite play on the slate. But other than that, Josh Donaldson's cheap at 3,900. So that's about it.
Okay, that's fair. Cheese, third base.
Weird stuff abound. Like I'm all over the place wondering about this Miami game. So Machado's out of the lineup, which was unexpected. And he was kind of my favorite spend up. I would go to Riley ahead of Devers as the spend up. I like Josh Young. I like Texas in general. But I like Muncy and Young at the top on DraftKings. Riley and Young on the top on FanDuel. Agree that like Jonathan Aranda on DK is a totally fine punt. Leading off for that salary, and should be a good player sooner than later. And that's kind of it.
Cheese, did my Rays ever start playing the kid that they called up that was supposed to be really
He's batting second today.
Oh, is it a shortstop by chance?
He is double position eligible, third base / shortstop.
Okay, and now you're going to tell me that we should play that guy?
Not really.
No. That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Like he's not as good as Aranda.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, this lineup is bad.
It's fine. They're so cheap. Like it's fine to do a Tampa mini stack just because they're free. But there's no reason to really love them.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. They suck. It's fine.
I mean,
okay.
They don't suck at all is what's amazing. They can play any humans and they do well. It's remarkable. There's really only two shortstops I like.
Real quick, Miami did just drop a lineup, which they hadn't, and that was, I believe, a little bit, adding to our concerns. But they did drop a lineup. Doesn't mean they're going to play, but that helps, right? Makes you feel a little better.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Cheese, what are we doing at short?
I like Corey Seager and I like Willie Adames, and that's who I like.
Are you playing anyone you don't like?
I mean, in stacks, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Xander Bogaerts, I'll give you as well.
All right, that's fair. Kirkwood, you got any other names, or you just like two guys and that's pretty much
I do love Seager. I'm glad to hear that. I do like Willie Adames as well. Other than that, I think Xander Bogaerts is leading off tonight. 4,600, I think, is fine. Kike made the lineup again, I believe. Yep. So he's cheap, 3,500. I like that. And I also like Tovar. So I would stick to enter these high-end guys or go to Coors for the value on either side.
Okay, fair enough. That brings us to the outfield. You get first shot at it, Kirkwood. What do you like?
Well, first off, did Soler make the lineup? Yes, he did. And he's leading off. And he just has – I can't ignore the numbers that he puts up against left-handed pitching. And
It's like
just,
video
silly.
game stuff.
Yeah, and it's been like that all season. So it's not just like fluky, it's like he's continually mashed the entire season, and we're now nearing the last week of it. So I have to like him. I think he's Juggalo Bomb number 1 tonight. I don't know if we can cue the graphic of me and Dave together with the Juggalos.
I would appreciate it. It makes me laugh every time. So if we've got it. There
we go.
That is fantastic.
That was you got to admit that was a great night, Dave. You got to admit.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you guys had that bonding moment too. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, I was up so far past my bedtime.
It's all right. Dave is a different guy, but when I think he felt like he could be himself at the gathering. Is what
it's cutting loose. Yeah.
Yes, that's really what it was.
Corbin Carroll, top overall, one of the top overall plays. Great matchup on the road. So the ninth inning at bats are always key in these games when they break out. Arizona fighting for a playoff. And it's also a very good stolen base matchup for him. So I love him. I like Tommy Pham. I like James Outman. I like Acuna. I like Soler, as I mentioned. I like Gurriel. I like a lot of the Diamondbacks. I like Christian Yelich against Mikolas. And Adolis Garcia. The list goes on, but that's kind of where I've honed in on.
Very good. Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield, sir?
All right, hold on. I mean, you don't have to hold on. I'm reading what the Miami Herald says about the weather. Somebody go read that for me. The Miami Herald article about the Marlins weather while I talk about outfield.
How am I going to find? What am I going to Google?
I just search Twitter Mets Marlins, and it's like the first thing that comes up. Yeah, Corbin Carroll is my favorite play. All these Arizona guys are going to be chalky, especially on DK, where Pham, Gurriel, and Alek Thomas are so cheap. But I do like them, and I would go Pham 1, Alek Thomas 2, Gurriel 3. As far as the cheap guys, with Carroll being the obvious spend up. If you're going cheap at pitcher, which there's plenty of reason to do at least 2 expensive outfielders, like do Acuna or Tatis with Carroll. Then you've got something a little different. Bellinger as well, Adolis Garcia, and Soler. Like all those guys are expensive, and other than Carroll, I don't think they're really popular enough to worry about. Let's throw Alvarez in there as well. Mid-tierish, I like Eloy, I like Kelnick. And then I think I'm mostly going cheaper from there. I probably forgot someone in that mix, but I'm gonna have to go to the notebook to find all the cheap guys. There's so many, like the Marlins guys, Robbie Grossman, Tyrone Taylor, Tapia, Sheets. The list goes on, but those are the highlights.
Okay. The article doesn't tell us anything all that insightful. Okay. Just a quote from what the Mets already said. We are working hard to get the ballpark ready for tonight. We'll be delayed starting the game, so stay tuned here for further updates. So pretty much, we didn't learn anything. They don't know anything.
Clickbait.
Exactly. They got their click from me. That's all that matters. They got their link equity. All right. We need some home run calls. I think we've gone around the horn. We need some bomb calls. We need some Juggalo bombs. We already got one. Was it the Cuban Missile? It was
Jorge Soler. The Cuban Missile was a ding dong.
That's right. That was a ding dong. You got another name for me?
I know I'm probably going to steal Dave's by saying this, but I'm going to say Corey Seager.
Yeah, that's definitely his, and that's fine. You got first crack at it. That's allowed. That's legal.
Yeah.
Cheese. Now you got to pivot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much of a pivot because the Rangers are going back-to-back in the first inning and the third inning, so Semien.
Very good. That works.
I got
Eric
one
says, hey,
more
can you?
too.
Oh, you got another one?
Austin Riley.
Okay. Very good. Eric says, can you imagine playing Chalk Gaussman? Everyone is, right?
This is lip. This has to be Eric Johnson, right? Yes,
Who?
it is. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is par for the course. Yeah.
Yes, everyone can imagine it.
And do it. Yeah. Essentially. Yeah.
But not
all right.
nearly as much as playing Chalk Michael King. Like in high stakes stuff, King will be more owned than Gaussman, as well he should be.
Okay. All right. A few people have been asking about Eflin, and I don't know where we decided here, but Andrew says, can you play Eflin in a GPP?
You definitely can. It's just about the salary. It's just kind of a weird salary, but very, very in play. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into the QQs. I'm going to start in the RotoGrinders Discord. Hey, make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up. This is free content with two of the sharpest minds in the biz and one weatherman who has an inside source. I'm hoping in the next 8 minutes or so, give us a little bit of cushion here. I can get an update and see if anything's changed. Let's go ahead and dive into the QQs. Scrolling up. Cheese on Fanduel. In an Arizona mini stack, would you prefer Gurriel over Pham? I was leaning Gurriel due to ownership, and I also have other popular Arizona bats like Walker and Carroll.
I mean, I slightly prefer Pham and not worry about the ownership, but it's very arguable either way.
Okay. FanDuel Cash, Kirkwood, I'm coming to you. NBA DFS is Polanco or Jung?
Ooh, that's a close one. I'll say Jung, just for the overall spot.
Okay. Next question from Lone Wolf DFS. What are your thoughts on Davies, Kirkwood? Oh, and follow-up question. 1 second. Next person says, I love my lineup, but I had to use Davies to make it work. Am I crazy to think I can get 10 to 12 DK points from him?
No, because it's the White Sox, but I would prefer to stack against them, to be honest with you. But if you're going low, you got to go low. Nah, he's the only one down there, really. You could go Urania, but yeah, sure. He could get you like 8-10 points, no problem.
Okay. And Cheese, you agree with that kind of range here? Like that user said 10 to 12, Kirkwood said 8 to 10. You in that kind of?
Yeah. I mean, I think you get 8 to 10 out of them.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. Scrolling down. Cheese, FanDuel Cash 3v3, Polanco, Anderson, Walker, or Moncada, Neto, and Newbar.
The Moncada side.
Okay. Best 2 DK Cash pitchers. Cheese, go.
Definitely Michael King. And then I would have said Braxton Garrett, but I would not do that. That's the Mets game. So if you have the money for Gaussman, it's Gaussman and King. If you don't have the money for Gaussman, I'd probably go to Lugo. No, I'd go to Ober at this point.
Okay. MT Red Sox says, I might have missed it, Kirkwood, but do you guys like Colorado stacks tonight in a DK GPP?
Yeah. I do.
We do. We approve. Any pinch hit risk for the Dodgers? Is that something you guys are looking at, concerned about, thinking of?
In the second game of a doubleheader, it's so far out there to try to project pinch hit risk. Like I can't guess for you at all if so they're giving Betts the night off. I can't guess if that means he just has the night off or so yes, but I have no idea.
Gotcha. Okay. Kirkwood, I like this question from Eric Johnson. How is Paul Blackburn not a top SP? A few people are saying he's 5% owned and, I've got him in my lineup. Not me. That's what they say.
Completely playable. He's cheap. He has good stuff. He hasn't been the greatest. But the Twins are an extremely volatile offense that he could certainly take advantage of. So I do like him. He's my favorite after Hawk for the low end. It's King, Hawk, and then Blackburn.
All right. We've got an update here from Skip Schumacher providing the latest on the state of the infield at Citi Field after the Marlins and Mets.
Good with it, and it can fish you off for it. It's a doubleheader. It's a doubleheader. I mean, it's part of it. It's part of the season that we have to play. I mean, we have 6 games left. There's no more off days in between, and I think no matter what we put in front of them, they've always been good with it, and it can fish you off for a minute or so. But I think they get over it, and you play baseball at the end of the day.
I don't think he's going to say anything useful, though. Him saying if it's a doubleheader, it's a doubleheader isn't exactly great.
But like, it's not up to him.
It's not. I thought maybe he was going to say something like, "We're going to do it tonight," but he didn't. I don't know. Should I guess I'll give you my official lean is that I think I shouldn't even get it. I'm a meteorologist. Like, I don't freaking know.
It's not your job to even guess at that, honestly.
It certainly seems like they want to play tonight, and in general, my thought is they'll probably try to make it happen. If they're trying to make it happen, they'll probably figure out a way.
Like, you would think they're at the point where they should be able to know to postpone or not. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
Are they going to leave people sitting at the stadium in non-rain for an
2 hours and then be like, "Yeah, never mind, we couldn't do it"?
Didn't we prove that they will do that? Did they do that one time?
Was it them
this season?
God,
I think it was them.
No, it was a cheap owner. It wasn't the Mets owner because he's rich, right?
Okay. Yeah, he throws money.
It was a cheap owner who did that. James says, "I'm watching the Mets pregame. The infield is really bad, but they say they expect to play." I don't know. I lean towards them playing just because I feel like they would have postponed it already had they not, but I truly, truly have no idea. So that's that. All right, let's get back to the QQs. We got 7 minutes here. Back to the Discord where all the cool kids hang out. By the way, make sure you're joining the RotoGrinders Discord. DK's single entry cheese from D Boogie B. Say, yeah, that's right. Blackburn or Houck? DK single entry.
I slightly prefer Blackburn. I think Kirk slightly prefers Houck. They're both very much in play.
Okay. Tom says, "Cheese, is 5 Arizona bats too many Arizona bats in DK cash?"
I think that's fine in cash.
NBA DFS says, "Kirkwood 2v2 FanDuel cash, Fam Donaldson or A Thomas and Jung?"
Wow. I would probably lead the Fam side just because I prefer him over Thomas.
Okay. Monkey Wrangler says, "Does the bad infield make pitching worse? I'm thinking about defense and trying to pitch with a beat up mount." We're trying to dive too deep into that, right? We have no idea.
Yeah, no idea. It could help him too. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Ground ball slows down instead. So that's random guessing.
Yeah. Eric says, "Hey, is it Monday? Why is Kevin having a beer?" It's not Monday, but we didn't have a show on Monday. So then it gets extended now. My drinking day is Tuesday, obviously. That's how it works. Let's see if we got any other questions. We're about 5 minutes until lock. Andrew says, "Even with this Tampa lineup, is there a way they could get to Houck?" Kirkwood?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are major league ball players, and Houck can certainly have a bad night. But I'm on the other side. But I think a stack is in play too.
Okay. Jose says, "Cheese, Gaussman and Eflin or King and Lugo for cash. The second I could get battered," he says it. Better.
I mean, I would mix that up in Gaussman King.
Yeah. All right. Jeffrey says, "Is Burger in Cheese a good mini stack with Soler?"
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
I didn't look at that lineup. I'm assuming that means he's in the lineup.
Okay. Oh, is the lock 7 minutes after again?
They're doing Canada. Yeah, the first game's in Toronto.
The first game should be in New York. Why is nothing? There's a New York game.
They have an extra 3 minutes for the Mets to figure out their field.
Okay, well, I guess we'll take it. All right, Joey Lucchesi in a DK GPP. Kirkwood, any interest?
No.
No. Ethan says, I need a cheap first baseman. He did not specify a site. We got a cheap first baseman on either site.
I mean, it depends on site and what counts as cheap. Like I think Garrett Cooper probably would be my favorite.
Okay.
There is a cheap guy if you want to go really cheap. There's Lucan Baker for St. Louis,
Oh boy.
2,300.
Okay.
Did just homer in his last game.
Any glaring pinch hit risks Cheese in Tampa Bay or Arizona?
Arizona, I'm a little like Jace Peterson, and I mean maybe Alec Thomas, but I think Jace Peterson is what I would call glaring.
Okay. Cheese aside says, are the Brewers a top 5 stack tonight or more top 10 stack tonight?
5 for me.
Okay.
I have a question
Kirkwood?
for Dave.
Yeah, please.
Dave, ownership doesn't matter, salary doesn't matter, just Alec Thomas versus Verdugo.
Alec Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I went with too, but I felt like I was wrong. But
I like it.
Good.
You were
You're
right.
never wrong.
You're never wrong. Trust that gut.
Sometimes it goes wrong, but you're never wrong.
The math is never wrong. Beaner says, Kirkwood, what are your thoughts on Santana in a FanDuel GPP? And what are your favorite FanDuel GPP pitchers?
I'll start with the pitching. FanDuel GPP pitchers, it's kind of weird with pricing over there, but I think I would say that Michael King is a FanDuel GPP pitcher because he's kind of overpriced over there. So, but I think the upside still absolutely remains. And I loved Braxton Garrett. If you think it's going to play, just throw him in there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
that's fair.
And then what was the other question?
I think you did it.
Okay.
Let me see. It was thoughts on Santana FanDuel GPP.
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
That's fair. That's a fair thought. Kirkwood, any thoughts on Ober?
Yeah, I'm playing him. But I don't. It's just I'm playing for hopefully five good innings against the A's, maybe 6 tops. But it's just there's just not a ton at pitching tonight, so it's the matchup.
Yeah. Eric says, Cheese, any interest in Dodger stacks? I feel like always you have interest in Dodger stacks.
I mean, they're far and away the number 1 team on DK. So, yes. I don't know about far and away, but they're my number 1 stack.
Okay. T9 says Canha or Contreras, Cheese?
Contreras.
Gosh, my neck hurt. Like, I think I might have did I get the COVID? My throat hurts. I puked a bunch, and now my neck hurts.
Yeah, that's what that is.
I had it recently. First time I went all this long. How many years?
That's crazy.
It's embarrassing that I made it that far and I let it get me now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Let's see. Thomas and that's just a comment. My guy Butthole Kirk, your guy Butthole Jenkins says I'm feeling Robbie Grossman as a cheap play.
Yeah, I'm with it. I was just wondering where my boy Butthole was. Good to see you, Butthole. It's always a pleasure seeing a Butthole like chat.
I don't know why it makes me laugh every time, but it does.
Because you are a child.
That's it. Yeah, that's pretty much the issue there. FanDuel Cat. Oh, you didn't say just FanDuel. Josh Lowe or Xander Kirkwood?
Xander.
Peter Viles in chat says Kirkwood got the gutless COVID.
Yeah.
It's gutless. Let's see. Cheese, Dodgers or Rangers in a single entry GPP?
Single entry Rangers.
Okay. I love this question from J Sams. We're almost on lock. I'm going to save it until we get to lock. But this question, the next one says, John Tom, DK GPP Cheese. He says, Jeff Lowe with 3 Rays or Outman with 3 Dodgers. Is Jeff Lowe a person too?
Who?
It's got to be Josh Lowe, right? He says Jeff Lowe.
Yeah, Josh Lowe. Okay, read it again. We'll assume it's Josh Lowe.
Josh Lowe with 3 Rays or Outman with 3 Dodgers. There's so many lows. I was like, maybe there's a Jeff Lowe. I don't know.
I like the Outman side there.
Okay. Or maybe it was Lau. I don't know. Anyways, Mitch, FanDuel GPP Cheese, Mitch Garver and Gurriel Jr. or Santana and Walker?
Santana, Walker.
Marcus says, what's the weather like for Arizona, Chicago? I think there's a chance for a delay. Actually, a storm went up upstream that was not supposed to, which kind of increases the chance for a delay. But at the end of the day, I still just think they're going to play, and it's a chance for a delay. So that's where I'm at. We've hit the lock. I got this question. Don't go away yet. Don't go away yet. This is a good question. Cheese, is there anything significant that you learned this season for MLB DFS? Didn't ask Kirkwood. I'd be interested to hear from both, but that's fine. There were new rules put in place, Cheese, that maybe change things, or maybe you just learned things because you learned things.
That's two different things. The new rules obviously changed things a lot. But as far as did I learn something? I mean, Lizzie learned something, obviously. Yeah, sort of. The longer we go, the more people are just playing projections more, which has made things really good for me. But continues.
Okay. So Lizzie, by the way, we stuck with Lizzie.
I have learned.
Say that again.
Was it Lizzie? Did we stick with Lizzie as the name?
Yeah, we're going with Lizzie.
Yeah, there we go. We liked Lizzie. Lizzie was the good name. No need to change that. All right. Hey, I think we're going to get on out of here. Matt Hall says, hey, congrats, Cheese, on the big win over the weekend. Congrats, Kirkwood. You did well. I think we're going to bounce. Lizzie wants some food. I want some food. And I may have to figure out if I have COVID. So for Cheese, for Kirkwood, and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.